Hello. Hi. Okay, well, hello everyone. I hope that you can see this video and oh my god, I made a mistake. Here, sorry. So I hope that you can watch this video and learn a little bit more about what is iGT and what is like the basics behind, right? So we're going to start now. What are we going to see in this space is basically why IGT, the MOS and KPI of the function, the job description itself as a LCP, let's say, and the key focuses of the function. Then key synergy of the function, timeline of the function, and then suggested main competence and behavior required. In terms of the objective, it's to understand better the LCP as a role and then understanding the skills and competences needed to have the best LCP for the function. Yay! So, first I want to start to talk like why IGT. And if we talk about the why behind, it's important, really important to understand a little bit of the history of the product. Um, IGT, well, GT itself is the first product that we have in ISIC. It's coming really from the 50s, and even though it's the first product that ISIC has, in this moment it's almost dropping in all the regions. But the reason is behind and a peak in, let's say, in 2000s. GV itself started to roll to have more relevance in terms of youth, and for that reason, GT started to continue dropping like for every single year. As you can see, the number of exchanges that we were doing in 1969 were really a lot, like almost 5,000. But if you continue seeing like what is the performance itself in 90s, the drop is coming. But I want that you understand, like with clear, how can I say it, like with clear vision why GT is relevant itself. It's because we are being the supply that the companies need, right? So if you think in the product that we work, let's say we are not like GV, that GV work for the SDGs. In our case, we try to be the best supply for the market that for the main, let's say, majors in the market. So we have marketing, business development, business administration, information technology, engineering, finance, and teaching. There are some others, let's say, like subproducts that are under in specific cases. Let's say like sales under marketing or sales under business administration. It depends of the job description itself of the position. So, but the point here is like that if you understand really why the companies require GT and why we can be the best supply for them, you can understand why GT have been relevant since the first moment that ISEC was founded. So, if you think in Malaysian context, you can understand that basically all the approaches that we are doing and having with the companies and also the opportunities that we are providing for the candidates, let's say foreign EPs, that wants to come to Malaysia is the best opportunity to have like professional development, and it's professional experience that maybe if you think someone, I don't know, that someone in Morocco, let's say, that is one of our IR partners, wants to come to Malaysia just to have a professional experience is not that easy. But ISEC is being the best platform to provide that experience that maybe if the performance is good, the person can be hired by the company. So if we talk a little bit about the differences between GT and G, of course, the main thing that can comes to our mind will be the duration. As you can see, we can have from 6 to 12 in terms of GE and 6 to 78 for GT. Sometimes, even let's say for GV, they have a lot of time that can have the duration. But in terms of Malaysian context, the timeline that we have duration itself, it's only 6 months and 12 months. This is to make the product more interesting for the companies and also because of visa management. In terms of the company, what are the minimum requirements? The company should have more than 5 years in the market or be educational institutions because we have teaching as a product, right? To understand something else important, we have allowance or let's say salary for the candidates. And this is because basically in terms of, if you think in the exchange standards, in GV, it's supposed that we have to provide accommodation, right? In GT, that is not true, but it's not the case. We don't have to provide accommodation. And the reason is because they have salary and they can cover that accommodation. But the salary should be in a specific amount that we can ensure that the candidates, in the time, in the duration of the internship, they can mostly survive in the country. And as I was saying before, GT is the best way to have professional experience, professional exposure in the major that you were studying. So in that way, you can align what are the necessities that the companies are having. Let's say that the companies needs I don't know, specific profiles for IT, but they don't find the profiles in the country. So IGT can be the best platform to find it. And of course, the interns that are coming to Malaysia can have like the professional exposure in terms of the major itself. As I said, the companies should have 5 years, but something that is really important because sometimes um, the people used to have like confusions in terms of how to work or to understand how to make the difference between a company or a startup or a company that can be a startup but is not recognized itself like that in the country. So it's important to understand that the startups should be only the market for GE because it's a value proposition that GE has itself, not like GT that wants to have like to provide more professional talent for the companies to, of course, to achieve the objective, to continue working maybe with the companies because if you check the data that we have in ISEC Malaysia, we have a lot of foreigners that have been continue working with the company after the internship. So the value proposition of the function is different, and for that reason you need to understand that the difference between company and startup is relevant towards to manage the function itself. So in this part, as I was mentioning, like since the beginning, why IGT? If you really think about like the purpose that we have is to provide the qualified talent, sorry, for the companies. If we know that we can find those specific profiles, it's because we are sure that we are working with the correct IR partners, that we really understand what is the market that we have, that we can really understand that all the requirements that the company is looking for, we can find the exactly candidates for those opportunities. And we can ensure to the company that, sorry, to the EP that the experience that is going to have in the company is going to be valuable at the end for the CV. Because of course, if they're coming to Malaysia or if they're going to any other country, it's because they want to have more exposure and they want to develop and learn more about the major that they studied. So in terms of GT, you have to think. It's a question that I always try to ask to my team. Like you have to put yourself. If you want to go to work in UK, to Australia, to Tunisia, to any other country, can you just go to the country and work? Sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes the country maybe have programs, but it's not that easy itself. And ISE can be that connection between the country and the companies, and you can move there to work. So, but if we continue talking a little bit more in terms about what is the MOS and KPIs that we have as a function, as all the operations in ISEC, we have a clear MOS, and I hope that you know what is that MOS. The MOS itself is completed, right? But of course, depending of the timeline, we can have different management of the MOS. In GT, we need to think like really clear what are the stakeholders that we have. So as all the operations, we have of course the EPs and the TNs. In this case, let's talk about companies, right? And also we have the membership and also ourselves and also partners that we can have as sponsors and so on. But in the case of GT, the companies are really, 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 really important, and it's because of course the companies are paying for the service. And something that we need to understand since the first moment working in GT, that the function needs to be customer centricity. First, because we need to find the opens, and we are going to find the opens only if we are clear how to work with the companies, and then we need to be customer oriented or have customer centricity with the trainees that are going to be working with the company. Something that make a little bit difference between GV and GT is that if you talk with people that is working in customer experience, usually the EPs and GV needs to have more support and so on. In GT, that is not that useful. Like the EP is coming to Malaysia, let's say, and they have the introduction with the company, but they become really independent because basically they are living here and they start to have a life here. So we don't have to make like to have all the time behind them, but we need to ensure that the experience of all the trainees that we have in the country, it's the thing that they are looking for to development, right? So if we talk about measure of success, we only can ensure that we are going to have uh, the completed, let's say, if we can ensure that all the stakeholders are having customer centricity management, that we as a IGT in Malaysia with all the OGT partners and with all the support that we have, let's say ESTs, sales teams, whatever, we are being focused in understand that the customer is the main priority that we have. So, as I said, completed is the main one that we need to look for. So, how we can ensure the completed? Like in every operation in ISIC, we can ensure it only if we have the 16 standards delivered, and also the LDA. But of course, this reflects a lot of work behind because if you don't work with the standards and let's say if you don't clarify in like let's say in expectation setting, the things are not going to happen because you have to think, as I said before, in GT we don't have to provide accommodation, but if the EP go and complete the survey for the MOS, and if they in the question ask like if you receive accommodation, of course they can put no because they didn't receive it, right? But if you clarify that it's not supposed that they should receive it, but it's supposed that they should have the opportunity to cover the accommodation because have salary, it's something that is important, and we can ensure that the completions are going to happen. But something else important to understand about completed is like when we talk about completed, it's mainly talking about EPs, right? Because completed is not about partners, but we have also partners standards, and in IGT it's something that we have to make track and follow up all the time together with the exchange standards. And partners standards, it's talking since the beginning, like from the attraction, consideration, all the experience that the partner is going to have, and even the closing with us, because we want to keep those partners for long-term partnerships. And the only way to ensure that that is going to happen, again, is with customer centricity vision, right? So if you see here, it's like all the beautiful funnel that we have, sorry, in operations in all ISF, right? So basically we have the signups, let's say in OGT side, then we have the opens in IGT side. But this part is really really important because you have to understand that between the difference in IGV and IGT is that in ISEC in Malaysia, at least IGV, they have PD for IGV, but in IGT, we don't have it. So basically, IGT is the responsible to find the opens and then to make all the process for the APs, let's say to complete all the funnel from applicant until completed. So we are the responsibles to ensure that the opens are going to be quality opens and then aligned to the market. What I'm saying quality opens, because it doesn't mean that you're going to have, I don't know, 40 opens to be I don't know, to be working in a call center. You can have it, of course. If you go to expat, you can see that a lot of countries they have like really opens that are misaligned about the subproducts. And as I said before, we have subproducts, and it's supposed that we should align and be working to provide the correct demand for the supply. In terms of IGT, if we talk about supply and demand, we need to be clear that demand is in terms of the companies, what is the market here, the demand of the market in terms of companies, and then the supply are all the IR partners, let's say all the APs that we can receive. So in terms of opens, we need to have the quality, right? Because if not, if we just have like, let's say, a call center service, maybe we are not going to be really attractive for the EPs, and the EPs are not going to apply. And then in terms of opens, we need to ensure that it's going to be one step ahead of the timeline to ensure that the EPs can have different options to apply. If not, we're going to have it behind timeline, and basically we are not going to receive enough applicants, and the rest of the funnel is not going to be working. And as I said, open should be quality and then aligned to the market, let's say to the supply. And why? Because if we understand how to work with IR, that is something that all the operations should be working with. In terms of IR, we cannot promise to the companies that they are going to receive supply from, let's say, the US, from Germany, from Australia. And why? Is because we don't receive enough applicants from those countries. Those countries usually they're interested to be traveling in Europe or like specific countries, but is not Malaysia itself. So how can we approach the companies and say to them, okay, you want to have um, 5 opportunities for IT? Okay, amazing. But the supply that I can give it to you, it's profiles from Tunisia, profiles from Morocco, profiles from MOC, profiles from Czech Republic. So they can understand since the beginning that the candidates, let's say the CVs that they're going to receive, are only from those countries, are not going to be coming from, let's say, from, as I said, from the US, because usually the companies are looking for European and American profiles. But we cannot make like fake promises, because at the end, if we promise that, maybe the MOU is not going to progress, and we can have just the opportunity there and expand, never will be much. Then, if we talk about the applicants, of course, we're going to receive the applicants only if we have good relation with the IR partners, and that is going to happen if we ensure that the communication it's clear, if they understand what are the opens that we have, what are the minimum requirements. Then accepted. This part is really really important, and this is not like GV, that usually in GV you make one interview and then IGV decide if the person is accepted or no. In IGT, we need to wait for the company to say yes, because they are the responsibles to make the interview. We just make the first screening with the CV. So we receive, let's say, 20 CVs, and then we check if the candidate have the language and the computer skill and the soft skills that the company is asking for. So from those 20s, we only send 7 CVs, and then the company make another screening and only pass 3 CVs to assessment. From the 3 CVs, only 2 candidates pass assessment, and the company make interview for 2 candidates. So it means that from those two, one can be accepted, two can be accepted, or none of them can be accepted. So the accepted is something that we can ensure only if we have like clear understanding about the SOP. And it's because sometimes the companies doesn't have like the clarity how to work with the SOP, but the only understanding about it is going to be if we explain to them like, okay, we need to have the feedback of of the batch of CVs in 3 days, so we can ensure that we can give you more CVs, so the process can be faster. Then the approval, it's something that between, let's say, to have the approval after the acceptance, it's something that it shouldn't take more than, let's say, 5 days. And it's because usually in GT, when the person is applying, it's because they are really interested to take the opportunity. In terms of realization, something important here, or realization can happen really, let's say, can be 2 months or a little bit more after the approval. And the reason is because of the visa. We need to wait, of course, until the visa is already approved so the person can come to Malaysia. Then in terms of finishing, it's something that we cannot control easily, and it's because our opens can be 6 months or 1 year, as I said before. And in terms of the completed, it's of course it's something that we can control after they're finished, and it's because of course, we are going to be working really closely in terms to provide the exchange and standards experience. In between all these, all the different stages of the operational funnel, we need to ensure something that is really important, and is the process time, especially when we are talking between accept applicant to approved. And because GT can take really a lot of time until the company made interviews, until the company decide from all the partners, sorry, from all the candidates. And As I said, if you are working aligned to the SOP, we can ensure that the companies have clarity in how to work with, and they can help us to keep the process time on time. But this, if you think as a customer-oriented mindset, let's say, you can understand that this is not something just because we want in ISIC have 3 days process time in IGT. No, that's not the point. The point is like if you are applying, put yourself always as a customer. If you are applying for an opportunity in Morocco, let's say, and the GT contacts you and make the screening and so on, and you apply on the 1st of January, you have the interview on the 15th of January, and then pass like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they say to you, hey, you are accepted in the opportunity, you can pay. Probably your interest in the opportunity is not going to be the same since the beginning because you have been waiting, and for sure in GT when one person applied to one opportunity they apply to a lot of more. So we cannot just keep the customers there like just waiting until we want or until the company decide to give us the answer for the interview or until they decide to make the interview. We need to ensure that all the stakeholders are aligned about how we work. And then response rate, and this is mainly coming in terms how can we ensure that the EPs are going to fill up the form of completed, right? Because that should happen at the end of experience. And then 16 standards delivery, but also here is missing the partners standards delivery. Then if we talk a little bit in terms of key focuses and job description, we have three. Of course, if I think like in detail, I will put more, but we need to have focus, right? So, okay, to the point. Product and operational management, like as every single operation, we need to understand that the product and the operation itself needs to have knowledge about. And if you don't really understand how to work and how to manage your stakeholders and the funnel, let's say, for the operation, is going to be hard. And can be that the funnel from IGT is the same one from IGV, but at the end we were different and the timeline itself is different. Then customer experience management. As I said, this is talking about all the stakeholders that we have. So okay, we are going to talk about trainees and we are going to talk about companies, but also you have to think about customer experience and what are the other customers that you have. And in this way, we have to talk about the membership that you have. How are you going to provide the customer experience for them? And then supply and demand management. As I said, for incoming products, supply are the EPs that we can receive, and demand is the market that we have in the country itself. So in this case, are the companies. So if you think in all the supply and demand, you have to think really deep about the market research. So we already have the market research, and we know exactly what are the subproducts that we can work with. And mainly, basically, sorry, are IT and marketing. And then we can work a little bit in terms of VA. If we think about IR partnerships, we need to understand the data, the previous data. We need to understand how have been working the LCs with the LCs in the other country. How is the relation between IGT and OGT, and how we are ensuring the co-delivery experience. Because delivery and ensuring the exchange standards is not only for IGT side. We have to work together, right? And in terms of IR, it's something that it's downscaled from the MC level, and we don't scale LC to LC partnership. But at the end, if the LCP, let's say, is interested to explore a specific market and a specific LC, another entity, they can do it. But of course, communicating ahead how is going to be the relation, and this is going to ensure that all the communication and all the way of working it's aligned between the LCs. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about timeline and function. So, if you check the numbers in terms of like historical data, you can see that okay, we have 2 semesters, right? So, in this part, I just put what is, let's say, the timeline between January and July. But of course, we have to think about in terms how is the behavior of the opens and so on for their second semester. So if we talk about opens, as I said, we need to have the opens one step ahead of the timeline. So if we know that the applicants, oh, sorry, if the applicants are going to be coming from February to March, we need to ensure that the applicants or all the EPs that are going to be interested in Malaysia are going to have the opens on time. So it means that since December, we should be having opens available for those EPs. Then, in terms of the applicants, we can have applicants during all the year, of course, and that is something that is going to happen. But we have a specific peaks of applicants, and mainly it's coming in the month of March. Then, of course, if we talk about applicants, the next step in the funnel is accepted. So, in terms of peak of accepted that is aligned to approval because it should happen in less than 1 week, um, the main peak of approval accepted with approvals are coming between April and May. You can check here what is the exactly peak that we have. But then something that also happens, it's in November that we have the peak of approvals. And November, maybe in the region of Asia Pacific, is something that is not happening because we don't have this as a strategy in the region. But in Europe and also in America, Black Friday is really important. So for the reason, the peak of approvals, it's happening a lot of times, like the biggest one in November. But here it's something that maybe we can try to improve a little bit more because it's something that we are not developing as a region. Then, in terms of realizations, usually it's after semester, and the reason why is because the students are finishing the uni in that period of time. Let's say after June or after November. Something that is important in terms now talking about the university timeline is that you need to understand that if you know how or what are the characteristics of your supply, you can use that material for sales, right? As I said before. But also, you need to understand what are the specific things in terms of the university timeline and in terms of the experience that they have. Because that can be your key to understand how to work with the timeline. So, let's say an example. I know that, it's an example, right? I know that in Morocco, in Tunisia, all the IT profiles, candidates in the university, they need to have an internship after uni. But during the uni, they have an internship per 6 months. That internship, the one that they make after the major, it's because they can apply for different positions in the country. So if I know that they are going to finish the uni on June, I can make campaign of attraction with Tunisia in from January to June because I really understand how it's supposed that the interest of the candidates can be because it's the moment that they are going to start to looking for internship positions. Okay. So, what about the key synergy of the function? Basically, we have three synergies, the most important. Um, of course, PM, that is going to be the synergy for all front office, and it's because we need to understand how to work with the members. How can we implement team standards, the L&D implementation, and let's say everything in terms of membership management and how can we ensure that the people know how to make the things in terms of education. Then, if we talk about LCP, to understand how can we have a growth mindset that can help the LC to really grow, to to have this vision that IGT can be more relevant in your LC and can bring all the innovation and all the new ideas that make IGT relevant. But of course, this can be done only if you have the perspective and big picture, let's say that your LCP wants to bring to the LC. And another synergy that for me is one of the most important ones is finance. And why finance? Sorry, because if you think about IGT, the fee that we are charging for the companies, let's say that is from 2.5K to 3K, right? So that's a lot of money, let's say. Then if you have more than one open with a company, you can receive, of course, more money. So it means that you can bring a cash flow to your LC. But that is going to happen only if you have like clarity in the way of working with your synergy of finance. And then if you think that the trainee is coming for 6 months or 6 or 1 year, it means that the EPs need to have visa. And even though we have a partner to work with the visa, we need to understand how is going to be the legality process for the trainees. So in terms of the synergy, finance is really a strategical part because it's supposed that it's going to be the person that should be working with you all the time. Let's say when you are making the invoice for the company, when you are already having the approval with the company, when you are collecting the documents, if something is happening in terms of the visa, what is the representation that the LC should have? And then if you are thinking in the MOU, if you want to have clarification in terms of MOU, like adding something, some parts for the because the company is interested to have a specific arrangement with your LC. So we have three synergies, but the main one that you should be focused and how should be the SOP with that synergy should be finance. And you should have at least one meeting, let's say monthly. And that's really like really low, but it depends, of course, in the performance that your LC is having. In terms of BM and LCP, your synergy can be once monthly. It's not a problem, but finance sometimes can be bi-weekly. Something important to mention here, um, in terms of the communication with finance, always you have to think that okay, finance should be responsible to work with all the operations, and of course can be really tiring for the person in charge of finance. So my suggestion is to have like SOP. Even in ISEC, we talk about SOP all the time. With finance, is really important. Why? Because maybe you need to make the invoice. So you need to send the information about the invoice to finance. Then finance need to send the invoice to the company. Then you have to wait. So if you have clarity about how should be the way of working with finance, you can ensure that the process is going to be faster. And then, as I have been saying before, your customer centricity is going to be like working all the time because you are providing the information on time for the company. So in terms of the key competence that you need as a LCP, basically is be really agile in terms of all the funnel, resilient because honest, like sometimes the companies can reject you if you are making sales, eagerness because it's is this about ownership, like is this about like how you want to see IGT as a function, and then drives for achievement. IGT in Malaysia, it's performing in the average way, let's say. Um, Even though I know that we have a lot of potential, we are just doing like the normal basics. We're not looking for explore to be more brave to take decisions. And then if we talk about persona, like what are them like the key competences that the person should have is relationship building, and of course it's because we are talking about stakeholders, and then business acumen. And this it's important because if you think about opens, you need to be fearless enough to say, okay, I need to approach, let's say, 20 companies in this month because I want to have at least 10 opens. So if you are talking about a communication with companies, you should have a business mindset and also understanding about how to work with sales, and not only you, of course, all your team. But it's something that if you have the clarity in how to work with that as a big picture, it's something that you can do scale and educate your membership. In terms of relationship building, account management is really important because if you don't have clarity about how to work with the company, how to be responsive, how to deal with the communication, if they are not happy about your service, if they are not happy about the EP, if they are complaining because all the CVs that you are sending are really the quality is not that good, you have to understand how to approach them and explain that okay, so maybe it's not good, but for sure we are going to improve, and then you have to figure out how to improve the relation with the partner. So um, basically that's all from my side. So I'm going to be out. If you have questions, if someone is available, doo, 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 doo. So if you have questions, you can ask for it, and I'm going to give 5 minutes to check it out. Okay. Okay, so basically, we don't have any question in this part. So, in the future, you have like any doubt or you want to know something more specific about GT, let's say so product management, pricing, legalities, whatever, you can approach me. Like I'm really open to clarify everything if you're interested in. And yeah, so thanks so much, and I hope that this space was really useful. Bye.